Hey everyone, thank you for joining us. This is the California Young Democrats ADEM training, and I think now more than ever we can all agree that young people's participation in our democratic process is more important than ever. We saw these past election results. While we had some good pickups, I think we can all agree they weren't exactly the results we were hoping for. And we're seeing a lot of young folks leaving the Democratic Party. A lot of Democratic stronghold demographics like Latinos, Black voters are leaving the party. So we got to get new voices now more than ever. For those that don't know what an ADEM is, about a third of the party's over 3,000 delegates are what's called assembly district delegates. Um, these are delegates that are elected every 2 years. Every assembly district elects about 14. Half of them self-identified men and self-identified women, and one executive board member. And these elections are coming up, and there's going to be some deadlines coming up, and we're going to get into the details of that. But first, I wanted to allow our lovely panelists to introduce themselves. First off, Mark Ramos.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Mark Ramos. I'm the chair of the LA County Democratic Party. Really happy to be here with you all. And those of you, actually, I ran for an ADEM in 2010. So times are different. I think I won with 18 votes, so times are a little different now. But I strongly encourage folks, if you're interested, this is a great way to get involved with the party and to see the infrastructure of it and how the kind of how the sausage is made. So thanks for putting this together, Gio.
Absolutely. And Susanna Williams.
Hi, everybody. Susanna Williams. I'm first vice chair of the Democratic Party of Contra Costa County. I also wear another hat. I am co-chair of Our Revolution East Bay. So kind of gives you an idea where my political spectrum lies. I was an ADEM. I started out with the California political process as an ADEM. 3 terms as ADEM. I was part of the Vote ADEMS 2017 crew, as was Manny. We made national news across the state for our progressive wins. So that was pretty cool. And then currently I am a delegate via my central committee.
Thank you. And Manuel Zapata.
Hey, everybody. Manuel Zapata here. I'm the chair of the San Joaquin County Democratic Party. I'm a former ADEM and e-board member through the ADEM process. I'm just here to give any information I have and any advice I can give you guys to running a successful ADEM campaign and to getting more involved with the party, because whether or not we like it, these things are going to be happening with or with us at the table. We might as well be there and might as well let people know where we stand on issues, and let's course correct some of the messaging within the party.
Absolutely. And Kristen Washington.
Hi, everybody. Kristen Washington, Chair of the San Bernardino County Democratic Central Committee, and former ADEM, former e-board rep through the ADEMs. So I was involved with Democratic clubs for many years before I ran for ADEMs, and I'll say definitely getting involved as an ADEM delegate really opened my eyes about what happens in the Democratic Party. And so you'll hear me highly recommending that all of you get involved with the ADEMs. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And if your microphone isn't muted, please mute yourself so we can all hear our incredible panelists. And just to let you know, in case you didn't come to the DNC or the Central Committee training we had, the format of this training is basically going to be I ask 3 questions to our panelists, and after every question, we're going to open up the floor so that young Dems can ask follow-up questions. And hopefully after this panel, you have a better idea of whether or not this is something that you wish to run for. And the first question is, should you run? And, just looking at different considerations someone might have in their, either personal or professional life. The question is, should you run? And up first, I'll pass it to Manuel Zapata.
So I would say you should absolutely run. And each area is going to be a little bit different. I know There are some areas that are incredibly competitive, and then some areas where you're going to get in by just showing up. And it's important to kind of gauge where that is, and but realize that um, this is an opportunity for you to not just use the Democratic Party, to network and push your issues, because that's a great thing to do. But you could actually affect change and build a coalition and really steer and navigate the party to to be more of what we as younger folk and progressives want the party to be, and that is a reflection of the people that we are serving. So you should absolutely run and get more involved, and get more involved in your central committee, because when they talk about the Democratic Party on the ground, I think each and every one of us should be the face of the Democratic Party and not just what they see on national news. You can influence change in your neighborhood, and that makes organizing for local issues so much easier to do in the long run.
Thank you. Kristen Washington?
Yeah, I echo everything that Manny said. I think that everyone here should run. I think it's important. If you were involved with a campaign over the last few months or the last year, whether it was with a candidate or if you were involved with an issue that you were campaigning for, we really need that same level of energy and determination in the state party. And so we definitely need you, and we need your voice and your enthusiasm. So I highly recommend, if that's your background, if you've been involved over these last couple months, and now the election is over, you may be saying, okay, now what? And the answer to now what is to run to be a delegate through the ADEMs, and it's purposely scheduled just a couple of months after the general election. And so it's to, while you're thinking about it, we want to help you to find what that next thing is. And so running for ADEMs is that next thing. And also, and so if you're also from, you've been involved like I was with Dem clubs, and you're looking for something more, you're looking to have more of a voice, then the ADEMs is a good next step. And I would say the last thing, if you feel that you represent, or your community is not being heard or represented by the Democratic Party, then you should run. You absolutely should run, because we need your voice, and we need you to be there as a delegate.
Thank you. And Mark Ramos?
Yeah, look, I don't know what else I can add to what Manny and Christian said, right? I mean, they just covered so much of it. But I think what Christian said there at the very, very end is really, really important. That if you feel that somehow your voice, or your community's voice, or your group's voice isn't being heard, then that should drive you to be involved, right? At some point, it's either get involved or walk away. But there's a lot of, look, I've been a registered Democrat since I was 18 years old. I'm committed to trying to do this work. My day job is I'm the president of a local union, right? I'm president of UFCW Local 1428, which represents folks who work in the grocery stores. And it's important for me to be involved in this process. And I would encourage you to do this, is because this is one more way to bring those issues that matter to you to the forefront, whether it's running to be elected, getting, being appointed to a committee, getting engaged in resolutions or legislation. This is a great space to not also do that work, but also a great space to network and meet other people who are like-minded and grow and organize. Yeah, it's a commitment, obviously, right? That means travel, raising money, or having the resource to travel, whether the conventions or e-boards, if they're in person, are either in San Diego, Los Angeles, Sacramento, San Francisco. But don't let that scare you, because I can tell you I've seen plenty of other delegates of all age groups put up GoFundMes to raise money, right? Travel up together, share rooms. There's a lot of ways to make this work. And again, I think that this should not just be run because you get to go to convention. Run to make sure your voice is being heard, right? That this is a commitment, this is work, and it should be treated as such. So it's really, really important But again, as Manny and Kristen said, I would strongly encourage you to run. I have a friend, Speaker Emeritus Rendon was telling a story once about how he decided to run for ADEMS on a whim, and got his ass kicked, right? Finished dead last in the ADEMS, but someone was there and saw him kind of working the line and pulled him aside and said, "Hey, are you interested in this kind of work?" Pulled him in, mentored him, and set him off on a political career that he wasn't even thinking about. It was just about running for ADEMS, right, and wanting to participate. So you never know where this is going to lead. Always enter it with good intentions, but I would again strongly encourage you, like Manny and Kristen did, do this. Understand, do it for the experience, and work your butt off to get elected, and then make sure that your voice is being heard.
Thank you. And Susanna Williams.
Wow, I'm going to add to this. So ADEMS is a grassroots arm. So if you're on this call, you've definitely got some sort of interest in having a voice. I went to my first CADM e-board, as it turned out, just as a civilian, Bernie Sanders. I blame all of this on Bernie Sanders. One of my friends introduced me to him, and I thought he was an amazing candidate. And so I'm like, how do I volunteer? So I go to an ADEMS, and I think it was Long Beach, and I met like a ton of people, and we tried to figure out how to have a voice, and ADEMS was how we could actually have a vote and a voice within the party. And so we kind of came together and we made that happen. Since 2017, I've seen a lot of changes happen within the party. The face of the party in California is changing. We all have connections across the country now. And so we're able to help people in other states, with input, ideas, things like that, skill sets. Just from a technical perspective, anybody who's a young Dem probably has some pretty good tech skills. That was something the party was greatly lacking in. I mean, it took me 2 weeks to get an observer pass for the first e-board thing that I went to. So things have definitely gotten better, but they need your fresh ideas. They need your creative ways of making things happen. They need your input on better ways to network, better ways to bring in sponsors. I mean, there's so many different ways that people can have an impact. And like I said, I've seen this change happening. Sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but I have seen this change happening. I'm seeing endorsed candidates mirror very progressive organizations endorsed candidates now. And that's a huge plus. So I encourage everyone to run. We'll obviously tonight we'll give you some, tips on, how to put together a campaign, how to win, that sort of thing. But I definitely encourage you. And as Mark said, it is a commitment. But let me tell you, you harken back to your college days, and that's been a while for me. And you put 4 people into that expensive hotel room in Anaheim, and you make it work, and it's actually fun. So there's definite ways around that.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Mark just reminded me, I don't think I touched on this enough, but there are several key decisions you got to make if you're an ADEM. You got to choose who your leadership is. You get to choose endorsements in your local area. You can be involved in the platform process and resolutions and more. So it's definitely a way to get your voice in there. And as Susanna mentioned, we are going to touch a little more on the strategy to win, and the procedural steps you got to follow if you want to run. But before that, are there any follow-up questions and just so far on what you've heard? And raise your hand if you have a question. Go for it, Brandon.
I was wondering, is there what is the age limit for this? I mean, I'm 22. I think I'm probably, I shouldn't say I think, I don't know. Could I run?
You'd be a registered Democrat.
Yep.
You'd be registered Democrat
limit.
as of, no age limit, registered Democrat as of November 5th, I believe it is.
Yeah, I was expecting there was going to be, I wouldn't want to be 14, but
yeah,
yeah. So,
there's
awesome. That's
as
great.
As long as you're able to vote.
Yeah,
awesome. Great.
Even non-citizens can run, but non-citizens can't vote. You have to be a registered Democrat to vote.
Right.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I think there was a question that just went in the chat about a map. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a assembly district. So there's about 80 across the state of California. The assembly districts are basically what like the House districts are for Congress, but for California. And you can Google to check. Yeah, somebody put the link on Find Your Rep. You can put your address in there and then find what district you're in. And then David raised his hand.
Hi, so y'all mentioned reasons for us to run. I'm curious, what are some challenges that we should anticipate if we do decide to run?
Any of our panelists want to take on that? We are probably going to touch a lot more on the challenges on the strategy to win, but
I can give
Go for
some on that. Like I said, every area is different. Some areas have more heavy-handed elected officials that will put together slates. Let's be honest. I mean, everybody wants the advantage when it comes to earning endorsements later on. Then there's sometimes that there's money barriers depending on how competitive the election is in the area. I think that kind of leads to like, how do you get elected? And part of that is just figuring out the coalition and the coalitions that are currently running in your area and seeing if, instead of, reinventing the wheel to just, to advocate for yourself to get a spot on one of the slates. I mean, essentially slates are sometimes a necessary evil, it's a little undemocratic at times, but at the same time, like-minded people run for the same reasons. And I think it's important to just kind of figure out in asking somebody that you're aligned with in your area, like what the landscape looks like, to try to navigate more of the, the minefield of not pissing off the wrong people, but also, letting people know that your voice needs to be heard. And I want to just make the point that a lot of the people that are new here, I encourage everybody to vote. I mean, everybody to get involved, but especially the younger people. I really just want to stop the whole thing about how younger folk should only be staff on campaigns when it's campaign time, and they shouldn't, actually be driving the messaging and the work, because oftentimes we're like, oh, young people, put them to work instead of like letting them lead. And this is a perfect example of a way to get into the party where you have the influence and you're not just somebody they call up to go knock on doors, but you're somebody that, you can be elected to your area and have a voice. So that's why I encourage a lot of younger people to get involved, because any opportunity, especially the grassroots delegates that the ADEMs are, this is your chance to be more than just, the worker bee.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Okay. And we'll touch a little more on the challenges and all that when we're talking about strategy and slates and that sort of thing. But that is a good question, though. Now, how do you run? Like, what procedural steps do you take into running? And Susanna Williams, you can go first on that.
Hey, how's it going?
How's everything with you?
Good. I'm trying to clean out my car.
Hey, Corey, can you put yourself on mute? Thank you. I know I'm used to being an admin. I just mute everybody. Okay, so procedural. Somebody posted a link for kind of the rules or whatever. This is by assembly district. So every assembly district in California will be electing ADEMs. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody here, because it's been a minute since I was involved in this. But it's 14 total, 7 self-identified male or other, and then 7 other than SIFs and OSIFs, right? Self-identified female, other than self-identified female, and 1 e-board rep in each assembly district. And the e-board rep comes out of that count of 14. So that's kind of the playing field. Sorry, Gio, what was the whole question?
It's just procedural
procedure. Okay,
you don't have to go through all of it either. Just
okay, yeah. So yeah, there's a link in there. You guys can get like kind of the logistics. They've changed the date on this year, thank God, because seriously, it used to be like early in January, and with travel and holidays, boy, it was a challenge to get all of your little ducks in a row and get your people to show up and vote for you. Yeah, so procedurally, I've run all 3 times that I was ADEM, and I was e-board 2 of those 3 times. I ran on a slate. I ran on labor-focused slates. I those types of slates, I absolutely have zero problem with. They were all very grassroots slates, with really, really good people. I met a lot of really amazing people, through running on those slates and serving, my constituents as part of that. So I am not unopposed to slates. The slates that I'm not a fan of are when an elected official in your assembly district decides to go put together a high-powered slate that they completely control. I think that's just going against everything that the ADEMs are supposed to be. But combining your resources is a really good thing to do. Every slate that I've been on, we, found somebody to do the graphics work for us. We pooled our money to, provide refreshments, whatever we decided to do. We just pooled our money to buy, some text ads, some social media ads, that sort of thing. So kind of operationally, that's what we did. Got all of our friends to, come vote for us, spread the word. Probably the most valuable thing that I've even come for me personally has come out of this entire political process is the network that I now have. It's pretty extensive, it's pretty cool, and it doesn't play just in the political space. It also plays through my whole entire life. If I need to know something or need something, I can kind of find it out. Share ideas with other, other areas. Operationally, Alpha 2 in Alameda County is an amazing resource. He always puts together really, really cool stuff. So that kind of answer the question in kind of a rambly sort of way.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Mark Ramos.
Yeah, look, as Suzanne said, it's a process, right? I think applications open this Friday or the 9th. I think that's this Friday. Applications open on the 9th. They're going to be open till January 8th. $40 for a filing fee. I'm sure there's a waiver in there. Submit a candidate statement if you choose to run away on a slate. Find some like-minded folks. There's enough folks on this call, I think, if you're all from the same assembly districts, right? Or as Gio said, there's a few of these have happened. And find some like-minded folks. Find something that separates you from everyone else, right? Some of the most successful slates I've seen is when they're very diverse. They're very diverse, not only in gender, in race, but also occupation, interest, and all kinds of different. So you get in with a well-rounded group that can run in the assembly district. As far as slates pro or con, I'm agnostic about it all. Get in there, run, make your voice heard. As far as look, and this is I just always find this a great opportunity if you're looking to get involved. I think more young people should be involved in this process. Gio knows I've spent quite a bit of time with California Young Dems, LA County Young Dems, and I'm always impressed. That I tell most all of them every time I speak is we all need you involved in the process to screw everything that us older folks screwed up. Right. And that's, and so it's important that your voice be heard. Don't think that because you're young that somehow you have to wait your turn. No one is holding you back, other than maybe, if someone gives you some bad advice is bad advice. Someone says you're too young to run, screw them, right? Just take it as bad advice and keep moving. Look, I can tell you that LACDP, which is the largest Central Committee in the country, has 2 full-time employees, and both full-time employees are young Dems. Andreas Molina is our executive director, and Annie Raylan is our director of operations. And it is not about staffing. This is a large organization, and these 2 folks lead, and they do an incredible job. So there's always an opportunity. I think sometimes there's always opportunity. Sometimes it takes, like I'm 60 years old. Sometimes it takes us willing to see everyone as an equal, and everyone brings value to the table. And that's how it should be. But as far as there's going to be a lot of stuff put out about the process and all that kind of stuff, and Gio will, I'm sure, will keep all of you informed. But again, there's a process. That setbacks, you got to organize, right? This is going to be online. It's going to be online. It's a whole lot better than it used to be. Organize, get out, organize your friends, organize voters, organize family, or folks in the same assembly district. If you're a good organizer, you've got a good shot.
Thank you. Kristen?
Yeah, I think I'll pick up on that last thing that Mark said is if you're a good organizer, then you will have a really good chance to win. And so I too I'm indifferent to whether you should run as a slate or run as an individual, but it really comes down to your ability to organize and get people to show up to vote for you. So being on a slate, you can get all the other folks and their friends and the people that they can organize, and so that can help you. So that's one way of looking at it. But if you're a strong organizer on your own, and you choose not to be on a slate, or maybe the slates that are in your assembly district, well, you have friends on more than one slate, and so it's awkward for you to choose, and then maybe you decide to run on your own. Every assembly district has different situations. But if you decide to run on your own, definitely think about it's about you running. It's about, as someone said earlier, describing how you are unique and why you should be a delegate. And then you just want to think about how many people can you get to show up to vote for you, which is, and if you think about that, so it's your campaign strategy, but you're also getting other Democrats involved in the process. So again, now all those people that you are pulling in to vote for you, whether you're on a slate or not, you are now introducing more folks to the process. So, I talk to a lot of people who say, they just vote every 4 years, which is a whole nother topic about why people only vote every 4 years. But this is a way for you to get involved to do something more than merely voting. Voting, of course, is important, but this allows you to do something more than just vote. But then all those people that you're going to bring in to vote for you, you're bringing all of them into the process and introducing to them the notion that there's more to do than just vote every 4 years. And of course, we want everyone to vote in every election. But this is a good way to get them started, to move them away. If you have people that think that the only time to vote is every 4 years when there's a presidential election, this is your way to begin to get them away from that thinking, because that's problematic right there. And so you will be playing an important role in helping to engage Democrats year round. So I'll leave it there.
Thank you. And Manny?
Just don't, like, as far as the process goes, like I said, find somebody that's been through the process locally too, to navigate that, because let's be real, nobody knows what ADEMs are. A lot of people internally in the party don't know what ADEMs are. We call them ADEMs, and ADEM stands for Assembly District Election Meeting. We're ADEM delegates from the ADEMs, but nobody knows what ADEMs are. So don't feel bad that you don't know. Just understand that these are one of those internal elections, and this is how you can tell people, where we are electing people from each community to represent the people in that community when it comes to steering the state party in the right direction. And you will become a delegate to a state party, the biggest state party, right? Even more so, you want to run for executive board, you can say, I'm the executive board member to the California Democratic Party. And that means something. That means something. And even being a delegate means something, because you have that change. So there's I know Victor's putting stuff in the chat. You go to the link, it explains a little bit more of the responsibilities, and it has a great timeline that I just sent to my central committee about letting people know what the process is as far as timeline goes. But if you feel like running, run, because it's your democratic responsibility to represent your community. And I think I just can't underline that, how important that is. So you can learn the process from CADEM. just know that, you know, the most important thing you can do is educate people around you and even tell them, look, I'm running to help steer the state party. That's all you need to know. And if you trust me, then I'm going to send you information on how to vote for me. And I like these people and you can vote for them as well. But just know that there is another election coming. It's an internal democratic election, and I need your vote. Because if you're a good enough organizer, if you have those kind of relationships in your community, if you have a large extended family, if you have a lot of friends, or if you just want to go out and knock on doors and tell people what's going on, just sell it that it's important and you need their vote. And you know, they can sit back and feel a lot more comfort that you're helping steer the party in the right direction.
Absolutely. And as Manny mentioned, Victor did post a link with all the rules. Even after we touch up on all these topics, I would just read through all that because there's a lot of intricacies there and a lot of differences if you're like a citizen or non-citizen running, and if you're voting in person or virtually. But just to go a bit through a lot of that, as Mark mentioned, candidate registration window opens on December 9th, so very soon, and that'll close on January 8th. So you got about a month to decide whether you want to run or not. And on top of that, you're going to be able to submit a candidate statement, which the party is going to post online. That form opens on January 9th and it closes on January 16th. There's also different rules if you're voting electronically versus if you're voting in person. If you're voting electronically, the window for that closes sooner. Whereas if you're voting in person, that's all the way until, February, where you have time to get prepared for that. And thankfully, we also have Corey Allen and Victor Costa, some regional directors here. So if we're saying anything wrong or or missing anything, they can correct us. But do any folks have any questions on the process so far?
I do. I was just curious, in an election, like as an example, for me, I would be in Orange County. What type of number of votes would you say would kind of be like, hey, this is kind of how many people you might be trying to reach in terms of, like your reach and what might get you in?
So one of our panelists want to talk about that?
Yeah, look, every assembly district's different. I've seen people get elected with 150 votes, and I've seen people need 800 votes to get elected. Now, an assembly district probably has somewhere around 500,000 people who live in it, depending on voter registration. So it is a small pool, considering how many who actually live in an assembly district, right? I mentioned earlier when I first ran in 2010, I think I won with 18 votes. I was in a really red district. It was AD 41 at the time before redistricting, and it was a Republican district. And then I became a regional director in 2017, and we were still having to meet in person then. So we actually folks had to line up, wait in line for hours, sometimes have some really tough conversations in line, and it got a little heated sometimes. I remember doing one where it rained for the whole time and people stood out in the rain. Now we have vote centers. You can vote by email. You get a ballot through email once you register. So the process is a lot more voter friendly. But again, it's going to differ from district to district, assembly district to assembly district. Just depends on how engaged an assembly district is. So like I said, I've seen it all over the place. And I think last cycle, I think AD 52, I think had the 23, I think it had over 8,000 people registered who were registered to vote. But I think at the end of the day, I think the winning number was somewhere around, I'm thinking about the lowest number was somewhere around 1,500.
May I ask a follow-up question to that?
Go for it, Brandon.
Awesome. So on these ballots, how many people are usually on the ballot? I mean, how many, I'm just curious because heck, if you're going onto the ballot and there's only 4 people, then, obviously you're going to have a better chance. And if some of these ballots might have 100, and then you really have to, show yourself as being different.
Absolutely. I've seen just enough people to get to fill out the required amount. I think I had, when I last election I ran as a regional director, I think there was 30 people who had registered. It just, again, it's going to vary from assembly district to assembly district.
But like you're saying, paying attention to how many people are running in your assembly district, it will be an important part of how you'll campaign and how many people, voters you need to show up for you. That'll help determine. Yeah, so if you see that very few people are even running in your assembly district, you're right, you don't need to do much. But if you find that there are a lot of people running, or if you're hearing word that there are going to be multiple slates, then you will need to plan accordingly and really find people to vote for you.
How would I be able to get that information where I would know who else is on the ballot?
It's on the CADM website. As people register, they'll put updates on there, and you can just follow along on the website and see how many people are. And then also network within your community, and you'll get a feel for where the slates are. Because there's usually at least one slate in a community that I've seen, but Northern California. So kind of network with people, and you'll get a feel for like who's running. When you express an interest, I mean, I was approached to join a slate when the first time I ran. So people like found out I was interested and called me up. So, like networking within your community can really help you out.
Exactly. And I wouldn't even wait for the to see online in the website. I would start kind of, asking folks around your community, just because a lot of like state senators and state assembly members will run their own slates because they don't want to get primaried. And these are the folks that vote on the endorsements. So I'd start reaching there, and there'll probably be some sort of broad slate in your community where maybe some folks in labor, others that are connected to the elected official, and other community groups are forming some sort of consensus slate. And it would be good to have a few Democrats and young Democrats in every single one of those. But yeah, I definitely start asking around, and it's going to change from region to region, as some of our panelists mentioned, because in one region, you might have in 2026, there might be some very competitive district where two Democrats are running against each other and they're both running their own slates, right? And others, it might be like a hard red district where there's just not that much interest in running folks, but that really depends on the dynamics of that local community. So with that being said, let me, Adam, you had a question?
Sure. Yeah, just I guess I'll just ask like a general advice. Do you have any advice for like finding other activists to help out, run a slate with you? For example, I'm currently in Tina McKinner's district. I think that's 61. I think I had to Google it real quick before I I asked. I remember a campaign staffer. I think her name was Bida Sharma. She showed me how this process works, and like, oh yeah, you should get involved in this. I think last time there's also like Amani Sanadi, she's like a really involved, delegate in the Dem parties. So maybe should I call them up again? Like what's the first thing, at the list? Can it be done?
Mark, he's in your county. You want to answer that?
Yeah, look, Adam, I would say anybody who's involved, or I would circle back with those folks if they ran last time, or you could even look up who the current ADEMs are for your assembly district, right? If you know any of them, say, hey, are you going to run again? If so, are you putting together a slate, right? I think there's a multiple opportunities for outreach. Look, I've seen people get elected running by themselves, right? It all just matters. But yeah, if you ran before, you thought about it before, if someone had conversations with you, if you attend an LA County Young Dems event, right? Ask folks there if they're running, right? Folks, there'll be enough chatter in your networks of people chattering that they're going to run or not. So, and then just try and communicate with folks that you're also interested, or completely on your own, put something together.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that if you're a part of the Young Dems, then of course you should ask around there with the Young Dems that you're associated with. If you're not in a Young Dems club yet, go to a Young Dems event that maybe there may be some holiday parties coming up or something like that. There may be a good that may be a good way. You can always check with your central committee. That would be a place that they may know about slates that are being put together, or they may refer you to someone. And then elected officials. If you worked on a campaign, your elected official may know of slates that are being put together. And I know that some people don't like the idea of elected officials putting together slates. And so it may be that the elected official in your assembly district isn't putting together a slate, but she may be able to refer you to people that are putting together a grassroots slate. So I think those are some good places to start. And then, of course, if you're involved in a union, then you may be able to get some people together or ask around if anyone is already planning to run for ADEMs. So it's a really good conversation starter, and it would be a good idea for you to have your ear to the ground and go to those places where people that are interested in getting more involved, or they're already involved. Go to those places where those folks are, so that you can find out if anybody is running, or if you can find people that may want to run with you.
Thank you. And Daniel?
Thanks for this. This is so cool. I had no idea this was happening until someone clued me in. So really excited to learn. I'm sure this is a dumb question, and Susanna, I'm in your district and county as well, or I don't know about your district, but in your county, are the people who are voting only people who live in that assembly district, or is it the central committee?
Assembly district.
But is it like registered voters or people who are part of the party?
They have to be registered Democrats to vote, and they have to be in your assembly district. Well, I'm in 15, so I don't know, which one are you in?
I am also in 15. No,
Okay,
I'm sorry.
you should hit me up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just registered voters in the assembly district. So if you have like high school friends you went to school with that are registered Democrats in the area, you can like tell them to fill out the form and recruit folks that way. It's a big organizing effort.
Amazing.
Yeah. So with that being said, in the interest of time, let's move to our last question. I think we touched a bit on this through the course of this entire conversation, but now how do you win? Like, what strategies would you implement to win? And this time, first, Susanna, you can go first.
Okay. Strategy. Yes. Everybody's mentioned the word organizing. You just have to be super duper duper organized here. I mean, seriously, get yourself a spreadsheet. This is how we did this with 3 successful ADEMS runs. Is everybody got together. We had some group meetings. Once we got our group together that was going to help each other. And you don't have to do this as a group. You can do all of these steps individually, but we built out a Facebook page. We pulled together some money, and I was in AD 11, which didn't take a ton of votes to get elected. And now I'm in AD 15, which takes more votes to get elected. So we didn't have to pool a bunch of money. I think we probably kicked in $100 a piece. But we put together a Facebook page, we put together graphic materials, flyers. Each of us was tasked with getting a set number of people to promise to come vote for us. We had all of their info in a spreadsheet so that we could constantly remind them. We ran social media ads on Facebook to get more people. There's also other resources. I referenced a Vote 2017 ADEMS project. And that was where statewide we got together and we had a central website of people that were Bernie Sanders supporters. Right now, there's a group that has been successful in the past with helping very progressive people get elected to these ADEMS roles. And somebody posted the link in there. God, what is it? Not PDA. Sorry, Progressive Delegates Network. Yes, PDA. So Progressive Delegates Network is back up and rolling. So if you are a member of the Progressive Caucus with CADM, super progressive, that's another resource. There'll be a website. They'll help people get the word out. They'll help get people, to come vote for you. And just it's just organization. It's literally it's not sexy, it's exhausting, but it works, right? I mean, you just have to and make, get everybody in your group to help. There's always going to be one or two that aren't so good at it, but the bulk of you kind of divide and conquer, right? Separate your, person's really good with a spreadsheet, they manage that. We used to hit Manny up all the time. I won't tell you for what, because y'all will be hitting him up for it, but he has a special skill. So find someone that has different skill sets in your area. A lot of people like to use text banking now because it's relatively inexpensive. Scale to Win is a great resource. So if you're an area where you're going to have a lot of people coming out and voting for you, or you're going to have to maybe spend a few more bucks, that might be something to consider. There's various places to get lists if you don't already have lists. A lot of people have worked on campaigns. Campaigns have lists. Get creative, get resourceful, but there's a lot of help out there. We wrote letters in the early days in 2017 to the editor explaining what the ADEMS was, right? That it existed, because no one knows what it is. So we did just really, I mean, it sounds a little cheesy now, right? But in those days, we were trying to figure out how this all worked, because we didn't know, and we were super progressive and supported Bernie, so no one really wanted to help us. So we just kind of figured it out on our own. So that's literally what we did. But you guys, a lot of you may work in careers, marketing careers, tech careers where you have some, really good skills to, put together a campaign, to manage a campaign, and to win. There's going to be physical voting as well as virtual voting. So think about what you want to do that day, to encourage people to come out and vote if they don't want to vote virtually. I don't know why anyone would want to do that, but a lot of people do. Simple little things, buttons, flyers. We did coffee and donuts, and we did fruit too, because we were healthy. But yeah, just little simple things like that. Kind of running a grassroots campaign, but it all works. So hopefully that helps you all. And there's a link to that progressive group in there. And if you're at all interested, please click on that link and do that.
Thank you. Manny?
Like a strategy on how to win, I would just say organize. You got to go out there and knock on doors, or just talk to people in your network. I mean, look at the seats that flipped in California. They did a lot more than just posting it online and stuff. You have to talk to your neighbors, you got to talk to people, let them know what the stakes are, and to get involved. And after all of this, you guys may want to run, or maybe you still have your reservations about doing it, or maybe you go and you see, well, there's a lot of great people running. And if you choose not to run, still work for the people that you want to represent you. I also want to give you that option, because at the end of the day, I've seen some ADEMs where it comes down to 4 or 5 votes between, the last person on each side, and those could be your friends, right? Those could be your friends that help somebody else get elected that's going to represent your values. So just know that you are a part of the process. You're a very important part of this process. And your networks are going to be unique to other people's. So if you want to run, I encourage you to talk to people, to talk to strangers, let them know. This is where I'm actually encouraging you to talk to strangers. Everything in our lives, we've been heard, not to do that growing up, but talk to strangers, talk to people that, Democratic club members, go talk to your local Democratic clubs, progressive organizing spaces. Tell them, hey, you may be a different, you may be too progressive for the Democratic Party at times. Go register as a Democrat and vote for me. I need your support. Let's turn this ship around, or however you want to phrase it, right? Just do what you can to let people know this is a very important thing. That's really how you win. And like I said, if you choose not to run, there's other great people running. You can be their their ticket in as well. So just do not get discouraged and keep running, because let's say you run and you are unsuccessful your first time. You may be like eyeballed as somebody that can be a future leader. You may be somebody that can be scouted as a proxy for an event coming up that maybe a delegate can't make it to. Maybe you'll be asked to run for central committee. Maybe you'll be asked for a different position in clubs and whatnot. Just don't be afraid to put yourself out there, because oftentimes, those are where we find our future leaders. And hopefully you guys get elected if you run. But if not, just keep fighting, because some of us took some hard losses in the past and we're still here. Obviously, you're gonna understand, this is one of the more insider things we can talk about is ADEMs in a state party election, right? We're all here because we're probably political nerds and organizers that understand the importance of getting involved. So just continue to do so, because you are the voice for a bunch of people that maybe feel like their voice isn't important, and you can be that important voice. So
thank you. And Mark?
Yeah, look, first off, I just want to thank my fellow panelists. You all are doing a great job. There's a ton of great information you all are giving, and I think we're all from different parts of the state, so it's really, really good. Look, how do you win? Register. Find like-minded folks if you want to run a slate. Raise some money if you want to do mail, or you want to do some Facebook ads. In the old days, when folks can still line up to wait to vote, right? There's still going to be a vote center. There'll still be folks, some slates sometimes set up outside with an easy up, handing out donuts or coffee and trying to have conversations with folks and do some persuasion. And then, look, if you're going to print Facebook ads, fine. If you're going to print something, as a union guy, make sure it's a union printer. Right? Make sure it's got the bug on it, because you will get called out for it if it's not. Unless you stipulate that it's printed in-house or something like that. So, that always helps, but bug always goes a long way. If you're running an ADEM or a district that is near where the vote center is going to be, I've actually had folks canvass the surrounding area. And get a list of registered Dems in the area, canvass the surrounding area. I actually had someone who did that when we had an in-person election at my local union hall, and one of the states actually walked the community around my local union and turned out and won. So it's all different. Every assembly district is different, like geographical challenges, right? Some places are more rural, more urban. I'm out here in the suburbs. But it's all time, effort, and there are so many different ways that we communicate nowadays, whether it's setting up a MailChimp account and emailing people, but texting, Facebook, Instagram. It's effort, but I encourage you, if you're interested in doing it, do it. Don't. I ran for regional director in 2017 when right after Bernie Sanders and that whole election with Hillary Clinton. And so some of the folks in my region were as they deemed themselves outsiders, Bernie-crats, and they felt like they weren't welcomed in the party. And all I told them to do was stay. Don't get discouraged. You're the new kid in school and you've got different ideas and folks, but your ideas aren't that different really than anybody else's in the room. And I always used examples of, people that older Dems. I'll use some of my folks at LACDP, Gary Shea and Morgan Saxon. Older Dems who people view as the establishment. These are two gay men who ran to be delegates in the 1980s who were complete outsiders. And Lorton Saxon in the 1990s actually put forward 3 anti-hate resolutions, LGBTQ hate resolutions to the DNC that were rejected. So everybody at one point is an outsider. Don't let that discourage you, right? Even if you run, you're not successful, stay engaged. It's important. This really is a big tent, and all voices are welcome. At least they are, at LACDP. But I know the regional directors, Corey, really lucky to have Corey Allen down here in Southern California. He does an amazing job as the regional director. reach out to the regional directors in the area too, right? Use them as a resource. They can give you a lot of guidance and advice as to how things are done. I'm really, really lucky to have Corey Allen down here. He's outstanding, and he does a great job of educating folks and being a resource. And so, like I said, there's a lot of different ways to do this, but all first starts with registering and then work your network from there.
Thank you. And Kristen?
Yeah, so everything that everyone said, that's all great advice. I want to give you a tip for if you decide to run, and I have a tip for in-person voting. So I know that there are a lot of different ways for voting, but there'll be some people that go to a voting center on the 22nd or 23rd, whenever it is in your assembly district. So make sure that you have your name, and if you're on a slate with others, make sure that you have that printed, as Mark said, or self-printed on a piece of paper, so that you can hand it to the people that are standing in line, because you need to work that line, and you need to tell people why they should vote for you. And here's why that's important. Some people will show up because they only know of one person. They pledge to vote for one person, and they're there for that one person, but they have 13 other votes. And so if your name is on a piece of paper, or you've printed it, and you have a good conversation with that person in line, they could be there to vote for you as well. When they get in, they may decide, I like that person. I'm going to vote for the person I came for, but I'm also going to vote for the person that just chatted to me, with me. Or I might, if the conversation was really good, this whole slate, I'm going to vote for this whole slate in addition to the person that I came here to vote for. So that is the best advice that I can give you day of for in-person voting, because there's so many people that are going to show up, and they only have one name, and that's what they're there to do. So I hope that everyone decides to go ahead and do this.
Absolutely. And we're reaching our 1 hour mark. So we'll do one last question, and raise your hand if you have a question. Okay. No questions. Well, thank you all for joining us.
Can I make a quick
Sure, go for it.
point? So, we've talked about ADEMS as a great way to get involved, and we hope that everyone does. But if you decide that this isn't for you, I hope that you will look for other ways to get involved with the Democratic Party, your local Democratic club, your local central committee. These are other ways to get involved with the Democratic Party. And so if the ADEMS, if it's not for you, there are other ways, and you will be welcome to be involved. And so I hope that you'll use any or all of these ways to get involved with the Democratic Party.
Absolutely. And use the packet that KDEM released that Victor posted in the chat. View the rules on there. Don't be afraid to ask people for help. You have a lot of resources on this call, multiple party chairs, multiple party regional directors, a lot of folks that know the rules that can walk you through the rules, people that care and want you to be involved in the process. And let's continue to build and bring new people into the process, because at the end of the day, we need a lot of change if we want the party to continue to grow, and if we want to make sure we don't repeat the results that just happened a few weeks ago. So with that being said, thank you all for joining us, and hopefully you all win, and you run and you win your races.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Gio.
Shout out to
Thanks,
Adam
Steve.
Gray. Shout out to Adam Gray, Central Valley, baby.